What is up, guys? MMA Dynasty back here with a full podcast. Lot to talk about. It's the week of the UFC Orlando. We got some big changes to talk about on the UFC 282 card, which is also coming up, and talk about Israel Adesanya, top five strikers, top five grapplers. So it'll be a really fun episode. But to get it started, I want to talk about those changes. Jiri Prochazka apparently had the worst shoulder injury in UFC history, and the fight is now off. Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz is now the main event, and now for the vacant belt. Apparently, they offered Glover Teixeira the Magomed fight for the belt, but he turned it down and said he needed more time for that. What do you make of that, Lucas? Because I think it's really interesting they turned that fight down. Do you think he's scared or something, or what? You think he
I
saw it
don't
as
think he's
financial?
scared. What I think that he was probably injured going into the fight with Yuri, but
Mhm.
because he's already fought Yuri once and because he's been preparing for Yuri for like let's say the past year and a half, I think he was more willing to risk going into that injured, especially because his game plan against Yuri is grappling. Maybe his injury affects him more in the striking, and maybe he knows that Magomed's a little bit harder to take down. It's a different opponent, like a different kind of striking. And because of that, I feel like he may have said, fuck, I'm already injured. Like, it's even more risky to take on a whole new opponent. But if that's not the case, then he dropped the ball because, unless he is injured, unless that's literally the case, and he was going to fight Yuri injured, because he knows Yuri well, then he just blew a shot at the title. He blew that because the only reason he was getting another title shot was because, he had a good fight with Yuri Prohaska, but now
Yeah,
Yuri Prohaska isn't even the champ. So it's like, who knows if he'll ever even get a title shot again? He'll probably have to get a number one contenders fight. I think that Yuri will get a title shot when he comes back, because I think, I mean, he vacated the belt. And I just want to say, there's no other guy in the UFC that would vacate that belt. Like, unless the UFC strip someone of a belt, like, no one is going to voluntarily vacate. Like, that's just not how it works. Unless you're leaving the sport and retiring, that just doesn't happen. And, Yuri Prohaska, you know, I guarantee you he'll be making a comeback in 2024, early 2024, maybe even late 2023. The fact that he's vacating, honestly, it kind of pisses me off because I like him as a champion, but we're not going to see him for a long time, and that's just going to get annoying. So I kind of respect it, but I think that I think he has the mindset to become champ again, but it sucks because he's going to have to get it off of Magomed Ankalaev because I think he's going to win. And how do you even view Magomed as a real champ if he's taking it off of Jan Blachowicz, who lost to Glover? Glover lost to Yuri. How are you going to really treat him as a true champ? So, I think Magomed's going to win the belt, defend it, and then I think he'll fight Yuri. But I just think it's a shame, and Glover may have just blew his last chance at getting a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is for sure a shame. I think it's sad. I think it shows that Yuri will be out for a while, not just a few months, not just a year, probably like a year and a half or 2 years, honestly. I mean, not 2 years, probably not, but probably a year and a half. So I think that's a shame. Yuri's very entertaining to fighter to watch. One of my top five fighters I look forward to watch fight. So it's a shame. I was really looking forward to this Glover matchup. So that's a shame. But I think at the end of the day, Magomed was going to become the champion sooner than later. So I guess it's kind of just fast tracking. But I am like we talked about it last week though, like this matchup overall. Like I'm excited for the Magomed Jan Blachowicz matchup, and I think this just made it even more exciting though, especially as a 5 rounder. We talked about it last. I think I mentioned it last week that I think that they should make the Jan Blachowicz, the Magomed fight 5 rounds.
5 rounds.
And then look, that's what it's going to be. Do you think that benefits either one of these guys, or do you think it not really doesn't really make a difference?
I don't think it makes a difference because Magomed Ankalaev and Jan have both gone 5 rounds, and Jan has done it more often, but I think Magomed Ankalaev is a little bit more of an active striker over 5 rounds. But I think that I think it both of these guys have been training for a 3 round fight, so I'd have to say it's pretty even. Magomed is the younger guy, so maybe it benefits him. But to be honest, I just don't see Jan Blachowicz winning this one. I really don't. It would be cool if he did. It'd also be cool if he did because I think that Jan Blachowicz would be a little bit more entertaining as a champion. But to be fair, I just can't believe that we have the most entertaining fighter, pound for pound, most entertaining fighter in the UFC as a champion. Like, how often does that happen? That the most entertaining, crazy fighter actually becomes champ, and
Yeah.
he doesn't even get to defend because he has the worst injury in UFC history that's
Yeah.
related to his shoulder. It's just so sad, man. And who knows if he'll even ever be the same? Who knows if he'll ever even be the same? Uh, I think Jiri needs to get on the sauce like Conor now so he could recover quickly. I
Exactly.
mean,
Who
but
knows? They
it's
tested
sad.
that apparently. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean it is sad, and I was trying to rewatch some of Magomed's fights to, I guess, some get a little like I don't know. I mean, just kind of like I guess just like I was first I was like looking at his Samba matches because I saw that he was like a real good Samba fighter, whatever you call it. So I was looking at that, and then a bunch of Magomed fights came up. So I was watching some of his fights, and they're just so boring. And like, that's gonna be our champion, like kind of
Yeah.
sucks. I mean, like obviously he's a great fighter and stuff, and obviously the Anthony Smith fight was a bit more entertaining. So I'm hoping that the Blachowicz fight will be more entertaining. A future Jamal Hill fight will be pretty entertaining. It could have been the opponents too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think that definitely played a part,
yeah,
because he fought Anthony Smith, and I think that was a good fight. I mean, it wasn't a great fight from Anthony Smith, but I think anyone that really tries to bring it
I think he'll come.
is gonna make it entertaining with Magomed.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about Magomed. Also, I think it's now going to be 5 rounders, so maybe he'll start turning it up a little bit towards the end of the fights. So yeah, but I mean, in terms of his last, like whatever 10, 11 UFC fights, they've all been pretty boring to be honest. And you look at his record, and there's a bunch of decision wins. So it's kind of a shame that we don't have the guy who's in all of his UFC fights have literally has had a finish. So yeah, it's a shame, but it was gonna happen at some point. But in terms of this matchup, yeah, I don't see how Blachowicz wins. I think Magomed's on a completely different level. And I
He
think
has to. He has to like.
I don't know what he
He has
has
to
to do,
not get taken down at all.
but
But
like
I
that's
just don't think that happens.
I think Magomed on the feet dominates Blachowicz too. I mean, I just think I also Blachowicz chin is just not the
Yeah.
same anymore, and Magomed's got some real power. And also Magomed, the thing about him is that he's so like unorthodox, just his fighting style, and I think it makes it so difficult to like. I think that was one of the reasons why Glover didn't want to take the fight. He's such a tricky opponent to figure out, and I think Jan could really struggle with that. Not that Jan's a bad like Jan's just a bit more like basic like Muay Thai kind of fighter. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You pointed out something about the leg kicks with Jan checking a bunch of them. I could see that happening, but at the same time, I think if he's checking the leg kicks, I think he'll come up with like he'll be creative enough to figure it out. Maybe go to the body with some kicks, maybe even go for the head. I mean, he has that ability. So I think Jan Blachowicz is really going to struggle with the creativity. I think he's not going to be able to avoid the takedowns, and yeah, I think it's going to be a long night for him. I think it ends up being a fourth round TKO. That's my new prediction, I would
I think
say.
it's gonna be a fourth round TKO. I think it's gonna come earlier. I think that Magomed Ankalaev is going to finish him by submission, or I
Submission.
know I'm not picking how it's going to be done because I'm saying submission or TKO. I genuinely think that, sure, Jan Blachowicz big power, but I just get the idea, and even though Magomed's been dropped, like I just get the idea that he still has a pretty good chin.
Yeah.
So I think Jan's chin is getting worse because he's getting older. And to be honest, unless he's perfect, and I just don't see him knocking Magomed out, I don't think he wins. So I'm gonna go with Magomed Ankalaev by a second or third round KO. And if that doesn't happen, I think Magomed Ankalaev may just take Jan Blachowicz down and beat him up on the ground and then submit him. So I'm gonna go with a finish from Magomed Ankalaev I'm gonna say second or third round finish. I have to watch some more of his fights and his grappling to determine whether or not it'll be a submission. But I'm gonna go with a finish for Magomed. You know, to be honest, man, I'd love to see Jan Blachowicz knock him out and just defy the odds. But yeah, it's gonna be Magomed. I think he's gonna win this one. I mean, he ain't too bad, but it's just another guy with who doesn't speak English. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Blachowicz is a fun champ, you know. The
yeah.
Adesanya fight. I mean, I thought that was kind of entertaining, you know. He was
It was
beating
that was a good fight.
5 rounds. The Glover fight was entertaining. When he won the bout against Reyes is entertaining. I mean, all of Jan's fights are actually really entertaining, to be honest. He fought Rakic, a guy who's traditionally really boring, and kind of made it somewhat interesting. So I think that's
He's a great counter striker. Like I really like Jan's boxing. So
yeah,
I just don't think he'll be fast enough, man. Like he's really powerful. I just don't know if he'll be fast enough.
yeah, and I think his chin. Magomed has some real power. You know, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's unfortunate. I mean, I don't know if I'd really mind Magomed being champ. I mean, like I do. Like I like the
He's not
idea.
an interesting champ. I
Yeah,
just want to mention this. I think that the division is only as interesting as the champ, to be honest.
yeah, that I would say so.
He's
Yeah,
just not an interesting champion. I feel like it just kind of deadens the division, to be honest.
yeah.
Like,
Like kind of like the 55 division.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's not even necessarily only their fight. I mean, it's just he has no star potential whatsoever. And it's kind of nice that a champion can be somewhat of a star. Magomed Ankalaev has like 200K, 300K on Instagram maybe, but I mean, he might have 500K when he's. I mean, like,
He's not
dude,
like
I have fucking. I'm almost passing him up.
yeah.
I don't know. I just wish that, and it's hard because he speaks Russian. He doesn't speak any other language, and I'm sure he's a cool guy, but dude, he's not like a presence on social media, and you just can't do that these days. You have to be a presence on social media. He's
Yeah,
just another copy paste Dagestani fighter, to be honest. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just unfortunate because I like the idea of him being champion. Like, I think like I like the dominance factor, but you look at his record and it's just like decision, decision, decision. Like, that's just not that entertaining. You know what I mean? Like, whole
yeah,
draft, he's just gonna have these like. I feel like him when he's champ, these guys are gonna be nervous to really engage too much with him.
he has no charisma, bro.
Exactly. Yeah, no charisma. Like his fight style, he's very slow, and if you do pressure him, I mean he'll finish you right away. So people
Yeah,
see like okay, like I don't want to pressure him, so they'll be hesitant. And I think we're gonna continue to see slow fights with him as a champion, kind of similar to Israel Adesanya when he was champ. But the only difference is like Israel at least is entertaining outside of the ring. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
And another thing I want to mention, it's like Magomed kind of gives me the like Bellator champion vibes. Like for sure he's good and I respect his skills, but like no one really gives a fuck about him that much. So that's the issue. And I like it when there's a champion with some hype to his name. Like, I mean,
Islam at least has some hype, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Islam at least has a big fan base, but like no one's really a big Magomed. Like, would anyone say Magomed Ankalaev is their favorite fighter? No, unless he's in your family, no one would say that, or unless it's his friend. No
yeah,
one, not a single guy on this planet would think Magomed Ankalaev is my favorite fighter.
yeah,
No,
definitely.
no hate to him. Like he's a great fighter. He's skilled. Like we're both picking him to become champion. We were gonna pick him against Yuri. So I
Yeah,
just want Yuri to be champ. Like I just feel like he's such a good champion for the sport. You know, people love his fights. It's a shame, man. I honestly, this was some of the worst news I've heard in a long time about in regards to MMA. It really sucked because I was, even though I wasn't that hyped for Yuri and Glover, like I'm always excited for a Yuri fight. And now we may never get the same Yuri. And one thing that made him entertaining was the fact that he was so good even against the top guys. Like his style being so wild, it's impressive that it actually works against the top guys. So it may not work anymore against the top guys because this
or who
injury
knows if
may
we'll
ruin
even
him.
do that style anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's very unfortunate. I mean, this year as a whole with injuries, like it's been an awful year. You look at Yair versus Ortega, you look at Blades versus Aspinall, like you look at I mean, even what's his name?
Calvin Cater,
Alvin Cater. You look at who else? Who's the guy?
Rakic.
Package. Like, there's just so many injuries like that keep happening this year, and we keep getting robbed of these.
At least it didn't happen in the first round of the fight.
Oh yeah, that would have been
That
even.
would that would be even worse.
Yeah, that would be awful. But yeah, I mean, like the UFC, like we just keep getting robbed of these huge fights. It's a shame, but hopefully 2023 there's a bit better luck. I feel like this card as a whole is just kind of cursed in my opinion, kind of.
Yeah. It was
With
too good to be true, to be honest.
Yeah, and also, I mean, also the fact that you're supposed to have Stipe versus Jones on
Yeah.
that card, their whole nonsense with that. Then this fight was just called off. Like, it's a shame, but yeah, I mean, like, too good to be true. So yeah, I mean, I'm still excited for this card. I mean, this matchup I was definitely looking forward to more than the Yuri versus Glover fight, anyways. So it being a 5 rounder main event kind of excites me though. But yeah, like it'll be interesting to see how many pay-per-views this card does sell with Magomed being the main event versus Yuri. So I don't think it's going to do too well. But I mean, Patty the Batty is on the card still. Till was now moved to the first fight on the pay per view, which I think was foolish that he wasn't on it in the first place. But yeah, I still think it's a pretty good card, start to bottom to top, or start to finish, whatever you want to call it. And I'm still really looking forward to it. Yeah, but some more. We got a UFC event coming up. UFC Orlando, another really stacked card. Honestly, maybe the best fight night I've ever seen. Truly stacked from top to bottom. Fortunately, Derek Brunson versus Jack Hermanson was just canceled due to Brunson, I think, got hurt or something, which is a shame because I was really looking for that
Yeah.
matchup, which is interesting which is feels weird to say because Jack Hermanson is a really boring fighter, but I think the grappling exchanges and stuff was going to be really entertaining, but we got robbed off of that. But other than that, I think it's a really good card. You got who is it? I'm trying to pull up the card. UFC Orlando, December 3rd.
We got Thompson, Kevin Holland.
Um,
We got RDA versus Brian Barberina, which should be a good fight. We got Mateus Nicolau, Matt Schnell. I think that's a whatever fight. I'm sure it'll be all right. But Tai Tuivasa, Sergey Pavlovich, that is the one that I'm most excited for. I'm more excited for that than the main event. Then there's Eric Anders and Kyle Dawkins, Chris Dawkis's younger brother. And then we got Nico Price, Philip Rowe, which I think is going to be the standout fight on the prelims. We got Clay Guida, Scott Holtzman, Michael Johnson, Mark Jacasey. I think Michael Johnson might get that knockout. And yeah, the rest of the card is I mean, it is what it is, the rest of it, but we got some good ones. I'm excited for Nico Price versus Philip Rowe. I think is going to be a banger, but I think Nico Price's chin is gone. I think he's done.
mm,
He's a little old now. Which one are you most excited for? Because I'd have to say Tuivasa and Pavlovich is the one I'm excited for.
For me, I think the Wonder Boy versus Holland for sure. I mean, that being a 5 rounder really excites me. I think it's going to be a really good back and forth striking battle. I think, I mean, look, we wanted Holland to fight against a striker. We wanted Wonder Boy to fight against a striker. They both got what they wanted, and it's a 5 rounder. So I'm super excited for that fight, and I think it's going to be a banger. But I honestly think that Holland's going to end up knocking him out. But we'll talk more about predictions later. But I'm really excited for that fight, and I'm also really excited for Tuivasa versus Pavlovich. But I'm kind of nervous that Tuivasa is just gonna get knocked out cold because I don't think he had enough time in between
I think
fights.
he's going to get knocked out too.
I think that's gonna suck to see. But I think that fight has potential to be a absolute banger. But I mean, look, Tuivasa. I mean, we thought he'd get knocked out a lot earlier, or finished a lot earlier against Gon, and he stayed in there. He's definitely got some heart. So who knows? But yeah, I'm that's kind of my fear. But I mean, Matt Schnell versus Mateus Nicola. I don't get why that's that high in the. Yeah, I don't really. I think that should be on the prelims. Honestly, like I don't really care for that fight. Barberino Dos Anjos. I think that's kind of interesting fight. I think Dos Anjos will for sure win, but overall, I think this card is it's good. I mean, the Brunson Hermanson fight really brought it to another level, in my opinion, in terms of fight nights.
Yeah.
But I definitely am really excited. What do you make of the Thompson Holland fight? Like, do you think it's gonna live up to it?
I think it'll live up to it. Yes. I don't think Kevin Holland's going to grapple, so I think it's going to be a good stand-up battle. I'm looking at Thompson's record right now. Now he's lost to Till, he's lost to Pettis, he's lost to Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad, but the Burns and Bilal Muhammad fight were guys that were trying to take him down and hold on to him. So
Jock,
Anthony Pettis was able to knock him out. This was back in 2019. Darren Till was able to beat him, but that was a very close fight. Could have gone either way. I don't see him losing to anyone in a striking battle unless he's old, and he's old. So um to be fair, I think he's Stephen Thompson
he's 39.
age. He's 39, right? Okay, so yeah, man. I think that I don't know how old Kevin Holland is, but I know he's like pretty young.
Yeah, I think he's
Kevin
20.
Holland age. How old is Kevin Holland? He's 30. So I'm gonna pick Wonder Boy. I'm sorry. I'm gonna pick I'm gonna pick Kevin Holland. He's got a longer reach, 81-inch reach for
Crazy
the
for that.
welterweight division, which is insane. And he's 6'3". Stephen Thompson's, I think, 6'1". Thompson, I really believe at his peak, at his prime, was one of the best strikers in MMA. I
Ever.
honestly do. I think he's like an S tier, like top tier striker. But man, the one thing he struggles with are guys that are really unorthodox and crazy and wild. That's how Pettis was able to knock him out. And man, I don't even think Pettis is a better fighter than him or a better striker. He was just able to get him. So I think that Holland is just better than him right now. Holland is probably a little bit of an underrated striker. I think Holland is a phenomenal striker. He's got good power. He's got an insanely long reach. He's pretty fast too. He's adjusted to welterweight. Like his first fight at welterweight, I think the speed was a little bit of a issue for him, when he came back down to welterweight, but I think he's adjusted now. And I just think that he's gonna finish Wonder Boy. And I don't know. I mean, like how long can you keep it up, with I think Wonder Boy is starting to look old, and you can't be the same. I'm not expecting Wonder Boy to show up the way he showed up against Masvidal or these other guys that he's outclassed. So I'm gonna go with Thompson. I mean, fucking
On the
Trailblazer.
Trailblazer, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I actually really like Holland at 170. I think until the Chimaev fight, he was doing a lot better at 170. I think the fit is definitely a lot better, having that reach, the power, the unorthodox fighting style. He's good at jujitsu. I know that Chimaev just threw him around in like
Yeah.
ease,
He's
but
got good jujitsu. Yeah.
he still has good jujitsu, and I think he could use that against a lot of the top guys in that division. And I think a lot of the top guys struggle to even take him down at the top of the division. So other than Chimaev and maybe like Usman or something, or Shavkat, the top wrestlers. But I think 170 is a way better fit for him. He's still in his prime. I think he had a tough loss against Shemaya, but I think he gets a full training camp for a guy like Wonder Boy, which you need. I mean, striking is unbelievable. So I think he'll be really motivated, and I think he's gonna get the late finish. However, if Wonder Boy's chin does hold up, I think that he's probably gonna win the fight though.
Do you
You
think
know?
Wonder Boy wins if it goes to decision?
Yeah, I would probably say so. Yeah. Because I mean you don't see anybody outstrike Wonder Boy really. So I think this
True.
it's the chin that's the real factor. You know what I mean? So I think if his chin holds up, I think he'll win the fight. But I think if not, which I don't think it will, because he's 39 years old, he's taking a lot of damage. However, look, he hasn't taken much damage in his last few fights. He just fought a bunch of grapplers, so who kind of just tried to hold him down. He also hasn't fought in a while, so maybe he's having some more time to really recover. So I think Yeah, I think that's what makes the fight really interesting. And I think this is an absolute banger, and I'm really excited for this fight. But I think it's going to be a Holland finish. I think he's going to catch him late. I think Wonderboy will be ahead, but I think Holland will catch him late and take him. He's going to knock him down. I think he's going to finish him with ground and pound. And that's my prediction. But again, I would not be surprised if Wonderboy wins. Who do you want to win this matchup? By the way.
Oh, I'd say Kevin Holland because like if Wonderboy wins, it really does nothing. I mean, I just feel like it's like an old guy winning. He's never going to be champ. Like I don't expect Kevin Holland to be champ either, but still,
He
it
still
just
can
is.
make some noise, you know?
It makes some noise. He still remains a big name, so I'd prefer Kevin Holland to win. So, you know, I'm excited to see it. I think this is like one of the best stand-up battles you can make. But yeah, I think that I'd agree. Like I think Wonderboy may be getting the better of Holland, but I'm not gonna be surprised if Holland edges out a decision either, just based on the damage. He may be able to drop Wonderboy a few times throughout the fight and steal rounds just from that. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland for sure. But I think that Tai Tuivasa is gonna get knocked out as well. I mean, he took so much damage against Cyril Gahn. He got knocked out in that fight, and he's been knocked out by JDS, so he's got knocked out before. He's been knocked out a few times already.
He's taking
And Sergey Pavlovich has like 84, 85-inch reach, really long reach. He's taller. I think he's just a little bit slicker when he's standing at range. Of course, Tai Tuivasa could knock anyone out, but I'm going to go with Sergey Pavlovich based on the fact that Tai Tuivasa is making a turnaround that's a little too quick. It's almost like Chris Dawkins-esque to be making a turnaround this quick. And I think we're going to see Ty get knocked out in Chris Dawkins fashion. So, yeah.
How old is Sergey Pavlovich? Do you know how old he is?
He's young. I think he's in his early 30s. For heavyweight, he's pretty young.
Because when I was really looking at this fight when it was just announced and everything, he's 30, okay. When it was just announced, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a huge mistake for Tuivasa. I think Pavlovich is going to knock him out cold and everything. But for some reason, I feel like whenever we doubt Tuivasa, he comes out with a crazy knockout. And I feel
Yeah.
like that could happen, and I really think that even though he lost that Gon fight, I think he did show a lot of heart and toughness that a guy like because look, before that fight happened, I could just consider him the new Derek Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
almost like a new Derek Lewis, a heavy hitter who either is going to knock you out or get knocked out.
But even more, I think he's more technical than Derek
Yeah,
Lewis.
exactly. Like I think he's a bit more technical. I think he's got a bit more heart than Derek Lewis. Not that Derek Lewis doesn't
Yeah,
have,
yeah, he definitely has more heart.
but a bit more heart. I think he's a bit better defensively. Yeah, he's a bit more technical. He's got a bit better cardio. So I think that I feel like the aspect like I feel like it's hard to kind of doubt the guy, because I mean, look, I obviously like he had a close fight with Cyril Gahn, the number one guy. He had some real nice striking exchanges with him. And if you have nice striking exchange with Cyril Gahn, imagine what you can do to another guy who's not close to that level of striking. So yeah, I mean, I think at first, like even right when we started this podcast, I was like, Sergey Pavlovich is going to win this fight, but I'm actually going to be picking Tai Tuivasa to win this fight by a second round knockout. That's my.
Damn. Okay.
I know he took a. I know it's a short layout, a short. He didn't have much time in between fights, and I think in the first round, I think he will get hurt at some point, but then I think he will stay in there and I think he'll find the finish in the second round. Maybe the end of the first round, but I just think we're kind of sleeping on his I guess overall skill and looking too much in the rest in the lack of rest, which is a huge factor obviously, but I think he may be a more skilled fighter than Sergey Pavlovich. Like I feel like with Sergey Pavlovich, like he is kind of like a one shot knockout guy too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not a great striker by any means. He's not a great wrestler by any means. Yeah, he's got the long reach, but I mean Cyril Gahn also had a long reach, right? So
I just think for me, it's the fact that for sure Cyril Gahn's a much better striker, but Pavlovich has more power than in his hands than Cyril Gahn.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
it's not like Tai Tuivasa is that difficult to hit. I'm just worried that if Pavlovich is able to like land a good combo on him and rock him early. I think he gets him out of there fast because, you know, I just really don't like it because he got put out badly in the last fight. And
It almost would have
you
been
know,
better if he just got knocked out cold right away. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? 'Cause he took a
he
lot
just
of
took
damage.
he took a lot of damage before that too. So I know he's tough, but I think that he could win. I just have to, if I were to put money down, I just think Pavlovich has the power to knock him out. Like if Cyril Gahn has Pavlovich's power, he finishes Tai way earlier. And for sure, Pavlovich may not have the same skill, but he does have a long reach, and I think he'll be able to connect first. And you know, can Tai Tuivasa possibly? I just hate whenever there's a 3 month turnaround after a knockout. Like it's just never good, and it never ends well. You know what? With happened to Chris Dawkins too, man. He got
Happened to Derek
knocked out
Lewis.
badly after Derek Lewis. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it happened to Tony Ferguson with Nate Diaz. I mean, we saw what happened there. I don't know if that was 3 months, but that was relatively
that
short.
was very soon after. Like whenever these guys make a really quick turnaround, they always lose after. So
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I just think that I don't know. I think I really did see. I was very impressed with his last fight against Cyril Gahn. I thought Cyril Gahn was going to absolutely school him from start to finish, and he had Cyril Gahn in some trouble in many moments of that fight. So I think like, what if I mean, we know that he could take a shot. We don't know like how his chin will hold up now, but we don't know if Sergey Pavlovich could take a shot though. You know what I'm saying? Like what if
good
what
point.
if what if Tai Tuivasa lands a big shot early? I think that
Yeah,
could
that could change the
that
fight
could
like
completely
for real.
change
Yeah,
this fight. So I think the biggest factor is I think getting out of the first round for Tuivasa. I think if which is weird to say because I feel like it's usually the opposite for him. But if Tuivasa I think gets it out of the first round, I think he's gonna win the fight. But yeah, I think he just needs to focus on getting out of the first round.
yeah. I think that's a good point too, man. Because I think he's got more experience in the UFC. So I think he has experience in these big moments. I think that's a good take. I just who do I want to win? To be honest, I'd
I
like
want
to see Tai
Tuivasa for
Tuivasa
sure.
win for sure. But I just think Pavlovich is going to win, man. I think he's the real deal. So we'll see. We'll see.
How do you think
Um,
he does against the top heavyweights though?
well, against Cyril Gahn, that's an interesting fight because you know neither of them are very great grapplers, and Cyril Gahn I think is the more technical striker, but he doesn't have that power, and he has a long reach. Pavlovich, I think Pavlovich, to be honest, I think he gives everyone a heavyweight a decent fight. Like maybe
Francis?
dude, honestly, this is like a hot take. I think he may be the only guy who's able to rock Francis, like wobble him a little bit. I'm not saying he'd finish him. I think Francis Ngannou would knock him out. I'm just saying he has the reach and the power to be able to do it because, like, Derek Lewis may have been able to do it, but he doesn't have that reach. And he's got a long reach, but doesn't have the same reach. And he also was afraid to engage. I think like Pavlovich may be able to land a good shot on Francis, maybe rock him if he improves. He has to improve. If he's not significantly improving every fight, no. And I think he'll still get knocked out. But honestly, man, we'll see how he looks against Tai Tuivasa. But if he finishes Tai, like
Or at least especially
I,
early.
I think he I think he may be able to beat a guy like Curtis Blades. I think he may be able to beat a Tom Aspinall, maybe. And I mean, we'll see. I hope Tom Aspinall is as much of a beast as I think he is on the ground, because if he is, he may be able to beat everyone. But
Yeah. I
I
mean that
think I think Pavlovich fits in. I honestly think he does. I mean, you think about Ngannou gone, Ngannou gone, Tai Tuivasa. I'll throw Curtis Blades and Tom Aspinall in there. I think he's right in there with those guys.
yeah, I mean when we were looking when the
He's not the biggest heavyweight, by the way.
Tom Aspinall's last fight, I think, was a little bit concerning to me. I think he was a bit
Very concerning.
I know we're judging off the first like 10 to 20 seconds or whatever it was, but he seemed a bit reckless. Like, I mean, you can't really go in that reckless against a guy like Curtis Blades or else you're gonna get knocked out. Imagine if he did that against Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
They're kind of similar in terms of power. I mean, I know
Dude,
Francis.
I feel like that if he did that against Francis, that'd be a 10-second knockout.
But like at the same time with Blades, I think if it lasted another 20 seconds, he probably would have gotten knocked out too. You know,
I
so
don't. I mean, it's hard to say that, but like, I want to watch that back. Like, I'm honestly. Do you want to like
should
look that
we
up on
watch it?
YouTube and just watch it at the same
Yeah,
time? Because
yeah. Let's watch it at the same time. Why not?
dude, like, he was. I don't know what he was doing, dude. Like, he looked terrible. He looked really terrible.
It's Curtis
Um,
Blades. Yeah.
Tom Aspinall versus Curtis.
5 minute rounds.
Hold on, wait 1 second. And I'm gonna put it on mute. I need to see this. Okay, here, let's go.
So I'm gonna just have
Here
to.
we go. All right, I'm okay. Let's watch it, man.
Okay, so you
So
came out there.
Aspinall
Oh
comes
yeah,
out, dude. He's just fucking throwing in flying knees that aren't set up, and
yeah.
he's just.
Oh yeah. No, he was
Let's
gonna get
see.
rocked. I think he was.
Yeah, he looked. I mean, in
Wasn't
hindsight,
as
he
bad
looked a
as I
little
I
worse than I
remember.
thought. Yeah, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still muted.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah. What do you think?
So I think when I looked back at it, like this time, it wasn't as bad as
Because
when I
he's not
saw.
getting hit. Like he's right out
No,
of
he
that range.
wasn't getting hit, but you weren't seeing like head movement or anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
I think if Blades was like got a little bit closer, he'd be rocking him at all those
Yeah,
moments.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So I think it was definitely concerning just going that aggressive. Like I don't know if that's the game plan you should do against a guy like Curtis Blades. I
yeah.
think
We got to upload this, by the way. I think this is a perfect clip for YouTube. Like we should, because no one talks about that. Like, I mean,
yeah,
sure, people have mentioned it, but no one's really made a video about it.
yeah. I feel like
I
nobody
think that
really
Tai
like.
Tuivasa looked terrible against Curtis Blades. You see that flying knee that he threw, didn't
Oh
set it
yeah,
up at
like
all, just jumped in
you
there with his
can't
chin
do
in the
that.
air and
You can't
just
do that
let,
against Curtis.
yeah, he's throwing leg kicks in like the phone booth range, you
You
know?
can't do that.
And he's just going out way too hard, out of the gate way too hard. Like I would love to ask him what his game plan was and why he was that aggressive so early on. Was he trying to set up a takedown? I don't know.
Yeah. I think you do the opposite against a guy like Curtis Blades. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
guy's got tons of power. He's a great wrestler.
You have to be patient.
You got to be patient with the guy, and you got to find the shots. I mean, he's not the best striker, so like I
Yeah.
think like if you kind of like take it a little bit slower, you'll find the right punches. But being aggressive with him is kind of like being aggressive with a guy like Francis. You know what I mean? You don't come in guns blazing against a guy like Francis. You take the Cyril Gane approach. You take the Derek Lewis approach, where you kind of just slow it down a bit. You make Francis like get a little frustrated, and I think you find the right shots. So I don't really understand what Tom Aspinall was doing there, and I think if that fight continued, I think he was going to get knocked out like real early, truly. So I don't really know how he'll do against other heavyweights. Maybe that was just his game plan
At
against.
least he didn't take any brain damage. And that's one thing about Tom. Like, sure, he's gotten injured. And to be honest, I think Tom Aspinall is the one guy that's gotten injured that I hope can recover from it the most. Like, I hope he never gets that injury again. And because he seemed like such a promising, you know, rising star. And I hope that he can come back and because I think, he would beat a guy like Tai Tuivasa
Oh, without
um,
a doubt, for sure.
without that game plan, of
But
course.
what
He
if
has
he?
to.
But what if he went out with that game plan though? Then he
That's the
would
thing.
have
Like
a long
I
time.
gotta ask him. I gotta like we gotta reach out to him and ask him what he was doing.
Yeah, I think yeah, for sure. I
He
mean,
looked terrible, man.
I feel like not a lot of people really like your like to continue with your point. Like, I feel like nobody really thought too much about that. You know what I mean? I feel like we're kind of like the only people really like kind of
Yeah,
like dug deep on that. I feel like people kind of were more like surprised with the injury aspect. They weren't really looking at the whole his game plan in like the first 20 seconds.
yeah.
So
Maybe he was. Maybe like, why would you do that? Like, what the fuck? I really need someone to ask him that question because I'm sure he'd give us an answer. Maybe you would say it's the nerves, but it was the second time headlining. Like, it can't be the nerves, man. And I hope he comes
could be.
back.
It was a even bigger fight. Bigger opponent. So it could
Bigger
have.
fight, yeah, bigger name.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aspinall, I think had a like. I mean, it's a shame because I really truly thought that he would be the next champion. Like it just felt like he was going to be the guy who'd be able to beat a John Jones. He was be the guy who'd be able to beat a Stipe Miocic. He'd be the guy who'd be able to beat a Francis Ngannou. You know what I'm saying? Like just with his skill set and
Well-rounded. He's like a heavyweight GSP.
yeah, he moves around like a middleweight, like Surreal Gun, but he's also got the wrestling. So and he's got the power. Like he's just a great all around fighter. But that game plan was a bit weird to me at
Yeah.
the and looking back at it too. And I also think I mean the injury too. Like we don't know how he's gonna come back. With these ACL injuries, MCLs, like you can never be this. Like there's a chance you'll never be the same. So yeah, it's a shame what happened to him, but I hope we could see him I guess maybe towards the spring, summer, but who knows? I feel like there hasn't been an update with him, which is kind of concerning. But yeah, speaking of injuries, did you see the Anthony Smith Conor McGregor
Yeah.
interaction? What did you make of that?
Yeah, so to be honest, I kind of agree with Conor on this one. So Conor McGregor, you know, basically shit on Anthony Smith because Anthony Smith said, USADA and the UFC are letting Conor McGregor leave the testing pool and do whatever he wants behind the scenes when it comes to performance enhancing drugs. And Conor actually came out and he actually confirmed the suspicions because he didn't deny it. In fact, he only really confirmed the fact that he was on PEDs. He said the only people that know how severe these injuries are me, Chris Weidman, whose leg broke, and Anderson Silva. And those are the only ones who really know how bad it is. And here's the thing: Chris Weidman still isn't anywhere close to coming back. And Anderson Silva, when he came back, had trace amounts of PEDs in his system. And here's the truth: these guys are people and they're athletes and they love to train. And you know what? I'm not completely opposed to guys taking testosterone, whatever they need to do to heal a serious bone break and then get clean before coming back. Because if you can bring your levels down to normal and you can get it out of your system and you're in the pool for at least 6 months, that's one thing. But here's the thing: if your bone snaps, comes clean off, snaps, then I mean, I don't think you should shit on them or call them out for wanting to get back, because those are the kind of injuries that can ruin your entire athletic career. Those are the kind of injuries that could take 2 years. And Conor McGregor is a big name. He's a big star. You know, he wants to make money. The UFC, he's way more valuable to the UFC than any other fighter. So I think if you have an injury that serious, and you need to take a year off no matter what, take some testosterone, man. Like if that's what you want to do, that's what I think. So I think Anthony Smith is wrong. I can understand the idea of it's unfair, he's leaving the testing pool, but listen, if that happened to you, you know, why not leave the test? You're not coming back within the year, so may as well leave the testing pool. I understand that there may be a little bit of a double standard, and I don't know if other fighters would be able to do that, but maybe the UFC should allow them to do that because they're not fighting.
Yeah,
And
why not?
maybe if you have a severe injury, you shouldn't be being tested because, if you need to, it's better that Conor recovers than doesn't. And I think that anyone saying, fuck that, he shouldn't be able to recover that fast, like, really
Let
think
them
about what you're
sell.
saying
Let them
because,
sell a million pay-per-views, and
yeah,
then
exactly. Like, people really need to think about what they're saying. You're basically saying, how dare this guy recover from a severe leg break? Like he's just recovering and becoming healthy. I think it's a little ridiculous to say that. And as long as he's clean when he comes back, that's all that really matters. If that's like saying that a professional bodybuilder in the IFBB wants to become an MMA fighter, he can't do it because he used to take steroids. I think if you get clean and obviously it's not in your system whatsoever, who's to say you can't do it? I think it's ridiculous. It's like saying if you snorted cocaine once, you're never allowed to compete in this sport again. That's just fucking ridiculous. Like, as long as you're clean when you come back and you're in the testing pool for a good amount of time, that's fine. But the guy's using drugs to recover from an injury. If I could get the same good quality drugs as he did to recover from that injury, and I had that injury where my leg snaps clean in half, I would do it. And you'd be a fool not to if you could do it and you could
I
do it
think
safely.
everybody would do that. I think after seeing what happened with Chris Weidman, how he's not recovered since, after seeing Anderson Silva, like what happened to his career since that injury, like you'd be foolish not to take that kind of stuff. You know, you got a guy Conor McGregor who's not even that old. Like he's 34, he's 34 years old, like 33.
He
Like
can still come back and
he can
compete,
still
you
come
know?
back and still fight well, you know. And also he hasn't taken much damage over the years. If you really think about it, Conor hasn't fought that much, you know. How many MMA he's fought, like what, he's 22-6, so he's fought 28 fights. That's
Yeah.
not that much, you know what I'm saying? And they're all very spread out. So he doesn't have much, he hasn't taken much wear and tear. So like he has everything he needs to be the same guy as he was before, other than this break. So if you have
Yeah,
a
I don't think he'll ever be the same
I
guy.
mean,
It's
like
the
maybe
mindset.
not, but like he maybe not the mindset, but like he's healthy enough to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I think like it'd be foolish not to do whatever you can to at least be like
Yeah.
80% of what you were.
But
You know?
but honestly, I agree with that. I agree with that. There one thing I do disagree with is, you know, I don't know if he's capable of even physically being where he was in the past. I mean, you watch his old fights, he was so fast, he was so slick and so coordinated and so flexible. Like he just was in his I think Connor's physical prime was in his mid to late 20s. I really do think that
I think it
guys
was
can reach
26.
their prime in a little different time period. You know, and when we're talking about prime, we're talking about his physical prime for martial arts and striking and all that. Like for sure, maybe Connor's physical prime for bodybuilding could be later, but I think that Connor's physical prime for MMA was in his late 20s, mid 20s. I think Connors can still be a beast, but I don't think he'll ever be able to physically get back there. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, he's not getting any younger. He's the most valuable guy in the UFC. The UFC would love to have Conor come back. The fans would too. And I feel like let the guy do what he needs to do to get healthy. And like, it's not hurting anyone else, man. Like, he's not just juicing for
He's
no
not
reason.
fighting in
He's
2 months, you know. He's it's like it's
Exactly. Like he wasn't just juicing for no reason either. Like he wasn't planning on coming back anytime soon. He was juicing because of his leg break. And first of all, I said that he was juicing, and there were guys that were saying, no, he's not. Like, how would you know? And it's fucking obvious that he's juicing, man. You know, he
tested.
looks great, by the way. I mean, he looks big, but it's not just the fact that he's massive. Like guys can get like that naturally, but for Connor to do that after a leg break in such a short amount of time when you're MMA fighter who's still doing a lot of cardio. Like he's on juice, and I think it's whatever. I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it makes him go back to like kind of like more how he was before the leg. Like, I
I
mean,
hope so too, man. I hope
imagine if it
Connor
just
comes
brings,
back.
imagine if it just makes Connor like pretty good again. You know what I mean? I think that'd be amazing. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely also on Connor's side. I think Anthony Smith is kind of just being a little salty. You know what I'm
He
saying?
is being salty.
Or being a little salty. I mean, Bisping, I mean, wasn't saying as much. I think more Anthony Smith.
Yeah,
You know,
Bisbing's a shill though. Like Bisbing will never say anything bad about anyone who the UFC likes.
exactly. So
Bisbing always says, and I don't mean to offend anyone, or he always says that before talking about anyone and criticizing anyone. He says, and I don't mean to offend them, but you know,
yeah,
Bisbing is a fence sitter. But Anthony Smith, I can understand it, but I think in
just
retrospect,
being
like I feel
salty.
like he should recognize like that he's a little bit
I
faulty
feel
as
like he's just
well.
not thinking before he's
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah,
situation. You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? Like he's not really thinking it through. Like
He's just kind of thinking about it emotionally and
yeah,
coping because like he knows that
he's
he
not
may
talking
not be able to
about
get the same thing. But to be fair, if Connor's able to do it, I agree. Like other guys should be able to do it
but like
too.
they don't realize like these
Those
guys,
injuries aren't common. They don't really
yeah.
happen.
And also they don't realize like if McGregor is fighting, like you're making more money too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's what these guys don't understand. Like when Conor is fighting, when 2016, 2018, like the year 2015, like those years, the UFC was making way more money. You know what I mean? Like which means every fighter's making more money. So
Connor's the only guy that can come back and sell a million.
yeah,
There's no one else that
exactly.
sells a million.
Every single Conor fight sells 1 million, no matter what. So like if when so let's say like you see that fight sells 1 million, people will watch the full card. They'll be, oh, the UFC is really good. Maybe I'll watch the next card. And then the next card will do better. Then the card after will do better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Anthony Smith needs to like stop being emotional and really realize that if the sooner Conor McGregor comes back, the more money you'll be making. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe
Yeah.
you get on a Conor McGregor card. Like he'd make more money on that, and he's also an older fighter, so he's kind of running out of time too. So I think he's just not really thinking. He's not really thinking through before he's talking. So yeah, I mean, and he's just letting his emotions talk. But yeah, no, I mean, another guy who's talking, who's a bit emotional too, Israel Adesanya. The guy just cannot accept his loss. Like I look, Kamar Usman, the guy who was dominating the whole fight until the last minute, accepted his loss. And Israel Adesanya, like when it was a close fight. Like that wasn't like Pereira's only moment. You know what I'm saying? And he can accept a loss. Like I think that's gonna hurt him, honestly. Like I feel like that really helped Usman really like I don't. I mean, it's yet to be seen, but I think it's gonna help Usman a lot going into the trilogy. But I think this will only hurt Adesanya, him not accepting it.
Yeah, I think so too. He has been saying things like he made a video on his YouTube channel, and I watched someone else commentate on it. And yeah, so basically he was watching the finishing sequence where Alex Pereira was TKOing him. And he gets clipped with the big left hook of Pereira, the left hook, which is his number one weapon. The one thing is he was trying to avoid the whole fight. And it's the one punch that like started the finish. Like it really rocked Adesanya. And when he gets hit with the left hook, he says, "And here's where my leg gave out." Like it's just such bullshit, man. He's denying the fact that he was ever rocked. He's denying the fact that he was ever in danger. He's trying to act like he was just dominating the whole fight. Like I was just winning the whole thing. Like it was very close. Second round was Pereira's,
First
and the
round would
first
have been
round was very
Pereira's
close
until
too.
the
And
last
the fourth
second.
round, at the end of the fourth round, Pereira was putting on some damage. And the fifth round, like it's not like it was stopped in the last 15 seconds. Pereira beat the shit out of Adesanya for the first 2 minutes of the fifth and would have knocked him out cold. He was the fresher fighter. He destroyed Adesanya throughout the fight, destroyed his legs. And it's not like Adesanya is even saying he beat my legs up badly and he took away my movement. He's saying he hit me with a good perennial nerve kick, which is basically saying he got lucky. He hit my perennial nerve. The perennial nerve is what Sean O'Malley got hit with by Chito Vera, which is like a 1 in a million chance that shit even lands and really damages your perennial nerve to where your footing just gives out. And here's the thing, when guys are truly hitting the perennial nerve, their movement is completely fucked. Like they have drop foot. Michael Chandler's had it. Henry Cejudo's had it. Sean O'Malley's had it. And it just completely ruins their footing to where it's so obvious to even the most casual fan that something really bad happened to the way that they're moving. That wasn't the case with Adesanya at all. He's bullshitting about that. He's coping with the fact that he lost. He can't take the loss like a champ. And I'm tired of seeing people say he's
So
fucking taking the win and he's winning. He's taking the loss like a champion. This is a true man right here who accepts when he loses. Like, first of all, no one's even giving credit to Pereira. Like, he just fucking won the belt off of the most dominant champion in the UFC. And people aren't even giving him credit. Like, people are just saying, they're just kissing Adesanya's ass because he, isn't crying in a corner. Like, he's not crying in the shower. I'm sorry, but he's delusional. He's saying that the only real reason he lost is because he got hit in the perennial nerve. And that's complete bullshit. Okay. His movement was taken away, but he should be saying Pereira fucked up my legs and I wasn't able to move as well. And eventually he was able to start landing that left hook more easily. He was able to pressure me up against the fence more easily. And I wasn't able to do anything about it. And he finished me. Like, straight up, just come out here and say that you got finished because he was better than you and he did better in the fight. Like, it doesn't matter if you bank a round or two. Pereira was setting it up the whole time and it worked. He ended up finishing you, and it wasn't a last second thing. It wasn't it wasn't a one lucky shot. He landed a good 20 solid, significant strikes that ended it all at once, and you were unable to defend not a single one. So he lost, and he isn't taking it well. He's making excuses. He's chalking it up to a lucky perennial nerve kick. Like, oh, he just happened to hit my perennial nerve. Maybe next time I'll hit his perennial nerve. Like, it's just bullshit. He should be saying, this is how you take a loss. This is how you take a loss. I was doing well, but the guy just fucking outdid me, man. He beat me and he knocked me out fair and square. And next time I'm going to want to do a lot better, but fuck, he beat me. Like, he did better than me. He performed better. he carried out his game plan better. He was better on the night. Just say that straight up.
Mhm.
He's not
Yeah.
doing that.
I
He's
mean,
making,
I just
yeah,
think he doesn't realize like it's hurting him not to not accept it. You know
it
what I mean?
is, because if you accept the loss, then you can
Not gonna happen.
learn from it.
Yeah,
But
and
if
you
he's going into this mindset where he sees himself getting knocked out and he's like, it's just because of my leg. Yeah, if he doesn't hit my perennial nerve, it's just because of my leg. If he's being, first of all, there's two things. He's either lying and trying to lie to make himself seem okay, where he really knows that, okay, it wasn't the leg. He knocked my ass out and that I have to change something about it. Or he's literally delusional, which in that case, it's really bad because he will not be able to learn from that loss and he'll chalk it up to the leg and the same thing will happen. Where if he accepts it, if he knows the truth, then he's just a liar. And in that case, he's not taking the loss well at all. So both options are bad. It's either he's insanely delusional and he's actually losing his mind and his ego is being destroyed and he can't take it, or he's lying to everyone by trying to say that he wasn't rocked. Because I'm sorry, but when you watch the finishing sequence back and you watch the whole fight, like he got rocked there and it wasn't a perennial nerve kick.
no.
I'm not claiming that his legs weren't, failing him a little bit, but it wasn't the perennial nerve kick. He got knocked out and he got rocked.
Also, another factor that like people aren't realizing, like if it was his perennial nerve, like why was he able to walk to the press conference? Why
Yeah,
was he
man. I
able to
mean,
like
it's the perennial
stand up?
nerve. Like he was able to. He looked pretty fine walking around the octagon to me.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Like after when he went over to Pereira, he was able to walk. Like you look back when Sean O'Malley did it, you look back when Michael Chandler did it, those guys couldn't put any weight on their foot. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Or then they'd fall or they'd fall, you know what I mean? So I think it's a bunch of crap. I think he's just trying to cope, and I think it's going to ultimately hurt him. You know, I think I mean, I think he's just, I honestly just think he's delusional. That's
I
what I
think
think.
he's gonna get knocked out even sooner. I think,
Oh, I think it's
last
going
time
to
I
be
said second or
worse.
third round, I think it's 100% gonna
I think
happen
it's going to be
earlier.
second round. I think it's going to be second round knock if they do fight,
He
which,
can't beat Pereira. Pereira's
yeah,
better than him.
prayer is better. And also, I think that people look. I mean, another guy I want to talk about, like about his like shitty commentary and him also being delusional about the fight. But Joe Rogan actually made a good point for once, like as of late in terms of fighting. He said that he was okay with the stoppage because he was like, if the fight went any longer, Pereira could have came up with one of those knees that he threw. I forgot who he in his UFC debut.
Nicolaitis
He could have did, what if he did a like one of those knees
could
to
have broken
his
his skull.
he could have broken his skull. He could have knocked him out brutally. Israel Adesanya could have never been the same again. And nobody wants to see that, you know. Look, we're not Izzy fans, but like we don't want to see Izzy become Dominic Reyes. You know what I'm saying? So I think the ref I think he stopped it at a perfect time. But in terms of Joe Rogan, like the guy, like, and did you see his like recent podcast or whatever talking about the fight? Actually, his last two, he did one
He
right
doesn't give
after.
Pereira credit, man. I don't
Yeah, he's not
understand.
giving Pereira any credit whatsoever. I was like, oh my God, this Israel Adesanya handled the loss so well. All that talking about all that, you know, he's handling the adversity so well. Not giving a single any credit to Pereira, and I think that's real disrespectful. And then when he was talking to Sean O'Malley about it, he was like, what if, like, he was like giving all these like aspects of like what Pereira is going to have to deal with in the rematch. He's like, oh, so Pereira is not going to be able to go as much with the calf kicks. You know what I'm saying? So what is he going to do instead to avoid that? Like, what is he going to do instead to damage him? Like, he's not,
Pereira's just better than him, bro. He's a
yeah,
better striker. Like he can
he's
do
not
it. He
looking
can
at
do
the
what he
factors.
wants. He beats Adesanya everywhere the fight goes.
He beats Adesanya 10 out of the 10 times. I don't care what anybody
10 out
says.
of 10
10 out of
times.
10
Beat him already
times.
3 out of 3.
Yeah.
Like if you lose 3 times to someone, then what are the odds? Like how if you win against someone 3 times, like that's pretty rare. Like beating someone 3 times in a row is pretty rare. And
In
that
two
just
different
proves that he's
sports.
fucking better than Adesanya.
In
Like
two
what are
different
the odds of him
sports.
actually doing that? And he actually does it.
Yeah, and I also think that like Joe Rogan's not looking at the factors like what if Pereira's gonna get better at grappling, you know, like
Yeah.
he's newer to the sport. Like
Adesanya couldn't do anything to submit him. He didn't even take him down. Pereira shot a takedown. Adesanya reversed it. Like Adesanya never landed a successful takedown.
Also, you gotta realize, like people have to realize, like Pereira had the strike numbers and everything. He had total strikes, significant strikes, head, body, legs. So he was out striking him the whole fight. It was just those grappling exchanges that made Adesanya win like be up in the rounds. You know what I'm saying? And also we look back at the first round, it's that one strike towards the end of the round. Before that, I thought Pereira was winning that round for sure. So I think that, like, I mean, look, they if they rematch it, like it's a second round, easy second round KO by Pereira. You know what I'm saying? Like easy, except especially if Izzy's not accepting the loss. Like Izzy was accepting the loss, I'd be like, okay, like maybe he would have a better chance at winning the rematch or the fourth fight, whatever. But because he's not accepting the loss, I think like, the same thing's gonna happen, but worse. And I think he's gonna get knocked out brutally this time,
Yeah.
the second round. But I don't even think the UFC are gonna make the fight. Honest, truly, I think Whitaker is gonna have a really impressive performance against Costa, and I think they're gonna completely forget about Adesanya. I think they'll be like, okay, like let's have Whitaker fight Pereira. Adesanya could fight like anybody like Strickland, Cannonier the winner, or either Cannonier and Strickland will have a really impressive performance. So
I don't think they're gonna do Adesanya versus Cannonier in a million years,
or
unless
I
it's
mean,
for a title shot.
Or Strickland wins.
If he does win, I think he loses though.
Yeah, I also think he loses. But what if Strickland does put on a
Then they might do that.
then I could see them doing that. You know what I'm saying? I think I'd see them, and if he calls out Adesanya on the post fight, I think
Strickland has no chance. He's gonna get
yeah,
knocked out.
I don't think Strickland has a chance. But if he
I think
does,
Strickland is really overrated, man. I
yeah,
think he's gonna
so
get
do I.
brutally finished.
He only does well against wrestlers, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all he does. I mean, if you take a guy who's got any sort of power, any sort of threat on the feet, I think he gets destroyed. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's gonna lose. I think it's a terrible match for him. But you know what? You know, Chimaev is kind of dumb for this. Like, I don't know why Chimaev is not calling for Izzy. That's what he should be doing. He should be calling for Pereira. He should be calling for Adesanya. Be like, Adesanya, let's fight in Brazil. Adesanya, let's fight at UFC 270. I mean, not 282. I mean, and maybe not Brazil, but like he should be calling out Adesanya. Like, I don't get why he's not calling out Adesanya, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I think it
Pereira,
would make more sense. Yeah.
not realistic, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not like, I mean, you have to fight for a number one contender spot if you're moving up a division without winning a belt. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So like he doesn't automatically have this number one contender spot. That's what I don't think he realizes unless he wins the bout at 70. So like I just don't get why he's not calling for Adesanya. I think that's an easier matchup than Pereira. Anyways, and I think I mean you
Nah,
beat
I
off
don't think so, man. I think that's a tougher matchup.
you think it's a tougher matchup, but
I
Pereira's got
mean,
the power though. Pereira's
Adesanya's got much better takedown defense, and I know,
not gonna matter though. Like either way,
but Pereira. I'm gonna be real, dude. Pereira's
bad. I mean,
grappling is dog shit.
but like you gotta realize like Adesanya gets taken down by like Robert Whitaker and Marvin Vittori. Like that like
Whitaker is a phenomenal wrestler. Vittori
yeah,
is
but
not a great wrestler, but Whitaker
his
almost made it to
takedown
the Olympics.
like, but what has he shown in terms of like taking
No,
people
here's
down on his on?
Whitaker can't hold people down, but he can take them down. I think Whitaker
How else did he
taking
take down?
Whitaker takes down anyone he really
Take down
wants to, except for
Vittori.
maybe a Chimaev.
No, but he didn't take down Vittori. He didn't take down.
Whitaker took down Vittori.
I don't think he
He
did.
took him down in the third round.
Did he?
Yeah,
Wait, did he? Also, who else?
He took him down. He was rocking him, and in the last minute, he double legged him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but like he didn't take down Cannonier. He didn't take down
He could. I guarantee you, he
down
could.
Till.
But
He didn't take down Till.
he took down Till.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Whitaker was, dude. Whitaker is is one of the
I
best
just
wrestlers in the sport,
all right.
bro.
Well, all right. So,
I just
but
hold on. I just want to say this: Adesanya getting taken down by Whitaker doesn't mean his takedown defense is not good. Like,
all right. Well,
no
then
one really. I mean, people really. I mean, for sure, people have taken him down, but they really struggle. Like, people have tried so many
but like
times.
who
He's hard to even get a hold of. It's hard to get a hold of him.
but who has tried though? You know what I'm saying? Like these guys aren't great grapplers themselves. So you know what I'm saying? Like
Brunson's tried. Brunson's pretty good.
but Brunson, I
Vittori's
think was
okay.
Vittori did take him down. I think the Brunson fight,
Whitaker took him down. I mean, Yoel Romero, I
Yoel
think
Romero was
tried, but
not trying to really. Like he
he
was
tried, and that's the thing. Like, but here's the thing. I think that I think Pereira. Listen, as much as I like Pereira, and I think he's dangerous on the feet, I am gonna agree that that maybe he could beat Whitaker, but I think if Whitaker wants to take him down, he could do it. And I also think if Chimaev wants to take him down, he could do it. I would pick both of those guys to beat Pereira right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would pick if I had to go with Hamzat's chance against Izzy, I would say he has a
80%.
80% chance to beat him. With Pereira, I'd say he has an 85% chance to beat him.
I think we're kind of underrating Chimaev. I mean, honestly, I think he's got
Well,
90.
then if Chimaev's 90% for Adesanya, he's 95 for Pereira because
Okay.
it doesn't matter like who has tried to really take down Pereira.
I mean,
The
the
first guy he
guys
fought in
he
the
had,
UFC who's basically a bum.
he took him down.
He took him down,
Yeah. He
kept him
controlled
down.
him.
Pereira's grappling is not. He made so many mistakes against Izzy, and Izzy's not a good grappler at all.
I
And
mean,
here's the
when
thing: like
you look at Izzy's like that's another factor is like Pereira's only getting better at his grappling. So like when he fights Izzy again, I don't think he'll be making those same mistakes. But
he may not, but he'll never be on the same level as
oh,
a Whitaker. He'll never be on the same level as
yeah,
a Hamzat.
but I think in terms of Chimaev Adesanya, like I mean, like like what that fight makes a ton of sense. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure if he
I just think that the UFC is gonna kiss Adesanya's ass too much.
so you really
I don't think they give him anything but a title shot.
so you really think they're gonna give him the fourth
I
fight?
think they're gonna do the quadrilogy, and I'm up for it because I think he loses again.
Yeah, he just yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
but here's the thing: Adesanya wants to get that one back soon. I think Whitaker. By the time Whitaker is done fighting, there will be an Adesanya Pereira date, and they'll have a date, and Whitaker will get the winner.
that does make a lot of sense.
And then Hamzat's gonna fight at 170. I really think he is.
And he's gonna be
He
fighting
wants
those.
to be a triple champ. He's fighting at one. He knows that it's either 170 now or never, and he needs to do it. He called out Pereira. There's no way he's getting Pereira. He called out Pereira for UFC 282. Insane. Pereira just fought. Hamzat Chimaev needs to fight at 170. And listen, if I'm Hamzat, I'm calling out Bilal. I'm saying Bilal, you me, winner gets a title shot.
Yeah, why doesn't he call Bilal? I mean,
Because
I don't.
like he beats these. Like I feel like
But he
if he's
still has
gonna beat
Colby
them, just
too.
beat them all, dude.
Colby just doesn't want to fight him. So I mean, you call out Bilal.
Colby's never. Colby's retired in my opinion.
Yeah, Colby's Stipe at this point of his
No,
career.
Stipe's definitely retired.
I mean, Colby, like, who knows? You know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
he's still going through some legal issues, maybe, but I think
Oh, that's been almost a
yeah.
year. Yeah, I think that's a bunch of crap.
But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, guys, Stipe Miocic officially retired. Guys, he's done.
I mean, same with, and I think Colby is maybe he's fighting Jake Paul or something. I don't
No
know.
way.
No,
Colby's retired, man.
Colby, yeah, I mean, he's ducking Chimaev
It's a
clearly.
shame. Colby Covington literally wasted his prime.
Yeah,
Literally wasted it.
wasted his prime. I mean, look, I don't think the UFC are going to give him these fights anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, how could you?
Kamaru Usman didn't waste his prime. He fought when Colby fought twice in the past like few years. Like Colby's fought. Who was his last two fight?
He
Masvidal,
fought
Usman,
Masvidal and Usman in
and Woodley.
2021.
That's his three fights in 3 years basically. Oh wait,
20
he fought Usman in 2019. That's 2019.
Yeah, no,
But
he fought Woodley. No, he fought
2020 he fought Woodley, Usman, and he fought what's his name?
Masvidal.
Jorge. He fought 3 times in the span of 3 years. That's pathetic.
Yeah, that's pathetic. Yeah, no, I don't think the UFC are giving him any more fights if he I mean, they'll give him fights, but like they're not going to give him any like treats
And he's
anymore.
not even talking shit. He's not even like
Well, because he knows he'd get fucked up by he knows he wouldn't
but
take
at
that.
least come out and talk crap. Like that's what he does to build hype.
He can't though because like if he talks any shit, they're like people just point out that he's ducking Chimaev. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't need I mean,
So, like,
I just want to see Colby talking shit and calling out. Dude, honestly, I'd be cool if Colby doesn't even fight Chimaev. If he just fights like guys coming off of losses, at least fight. Like at least get in there.
I mean, he was calling out Poirier. He realized that fight was never going to
That's
happen.
yeah, I mean, he's yeah, exactly.
So I think if he doesn't have anyone else to call out. I mean, I like what if I think I mean another fight that was actually that was also booked. Neil Magny versus Gilbert Burns. That was supposed to be Gilbert Burns versus Masvidal.
Bro, I'm gonna be real, man. I am not even excited for that at all.
That fight
It's
sucks.
Neil Magny, bro. I don't give a fuck about Neil
I
Magny.
don't get that fight at all. I think it just seems like it's UFC's attempt to just put Burns on the Brazil card by any means.
Yeah, it's such a lazy attempt. Like
Yeah.
the
What about
UFC
against
really doesn't
Bilal?
give a fuck
Why
about
don't they
Brazil,
put him
man. The
against
UFC
Bilal?
really doesn't give a fuck about Brazil.
Why doesn't Bilal get on that? Why didn't they try to book Bilal versus Burns. I think
Because
that fight.
Bilal needs one more for a title shot, and it doesn't really make sense to put him in there
Does he need
against a
one
guy who
more?
needs like 3 more.
Do you really think he needs one more? I think it's two. I really think it's two.
I mean, he beat Luque, he beat Brady. If he beats Burns, like, I mean, bro, I
Like,
think like Bilal Muhammad, he's on such a big win streak. He beat Wonder Boy, Luque, Brady, and one more name. That's, I mean, and then some guys before that. I think he deserves it.
that's fair. But yeah, no, I mean, so Bilal
I
versus
just, yeah, I don't give a fuck about the Burns fight because it's Neil Magny. Like Neil Magny is so boring, dude.
it's also just not that like we know what he is. You know what I'm saying? Like
He's a clinch up against the fence kind of guy. Take you down if you can. Like maybe get a submission. Sure, he's got a lot of wins, but I've never been excited for a Neil Magny fight. Not once.
yeah, I mean, I don't get that fight at all. You know, I mean,
I hope Burns makes it entertaining.
I think he will, but that Brazil card as a whole is just
So shitty.
a mess, you know. And it's the UFC's fault, you know. They had all these months to really work on it, and they,
Dude, they could have had Charles and Glover and Figueiredo, 3 champions on that card, and they fumbled it.
you know what I think? I think they're gonna get Glover on it somehow. That's what I think. I think they're somehow gonna
Oh,
get.
you're right. Because Glover's not fighting now. We'll get a healthy. Oh, yeah. The
I
UFC could
think they're gonna
definitely do that.
somehow get Glover. I don't know who will fight. I literally have no idea. But I
Jamal
think they're
Hill.
gonna somehow get him on the
Oh,
card.
wait, not Jamal Hill, because Jamal Hill is fighting Anthony Smith. I
When
think
is
they'll
that fight,
give
by the
him
way?
what's up?
When is Jamal Hill versus Anthony Smith?
That's in I think that's a
Is it
main event.
December?
I think it's gonna be in February.
Okay, interesting. Interesting.
But I think that Glover, I think they might give him damn, who do you even give him?
I mean, Rackage, like,
Rakic? Yeah, you could. You
is he gonna
could.
be ready? I think he'll be ready. Like, you know,
I think that'd be a good fight, but Rakic is I
that's
hate
also kind of
Rakic,
short
man.
notice. That's kind of short notice too. I mean,
I mean,
it's
there's 2 months. We're about a month and a half away.
yeah. Honestly, yeah, maybe.
Rakic is kind of I'm not a fan of him.
But I mean,
I think he's extremely boring.
yeah, I mean, I think Glover can make it entertaining though. You know,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's the only guy you could give him. There's no one else that's ranked.
yeah, I think it's a shame. I mean, there's just not a lot of fights that make sense to add on to the Brazil card. I mean, Masvidal Burns would have been a banger, you know. But
Masvidal
Masvidal, I
dunked
guess
him.
stuck him. I guess he's not the BMF anymore. But
Nope.
yeah, no. So I mean, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be Figurino versus Marino as four as the main event. They're gonna end up not doing a pay-per-view. It's gonna be like a free pay-per-view. ESPN.
Really?
I mean, probably, right? Like, I mean, like
I don't think so, man. I think the UFC is going to try to make that big money.
I mean, they're not gonna sell anything, and then
If they do a fight night, then I'll. If they do a big free pay per view,
that's what
if
they
they
should.
do a free fight night, oh, I'll like that a lot.
Yeah, that's what they should do. If they were smart, they would do that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not gonna sell more than 20K.
pathetic, man. They had Charles Oliveira, the biggest Brazilian champion, Glover Teixeira, and they never made a Brazil card. Pathetic.
Also, you got, I mean, you got what's his name? Fuck, the guy who Jones Shogun. We got Shogun on it though, so we're all
Yeah,
good.
Shogun, like, yeah, no, yeah,
We got
exactly. Like,
Shogun on it, so we're all good. But no, that's gonna be the worst pay-per-view of the last like couple years. I don't remember when there's been a pay-per-view this bad, truly, you know. Like,
yeah,
that's a mess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, could we get Tony Ferguson on it? Like, hit him up, you know, like got to get one of those guys who maybe Kevin Holland will come on short notice.
I
I
think that Brazil card's basically fucked.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah,
I don't think the UFC just doesn't know how to do business.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Like they do in some aspects, but they don't know how to make cards. They don't.
yeah, they make a lot of mistakes, like, and they give us a lot of fights that just don't make sense. But I think there's a lot of
They
aspects.
overstack some cards and like listen, I don't like the term overstack because UFC 282 is perfect. But it's why like you should never understack a card. It just doesn't make sense. You're a $1 billion business. Every card should be stacked.
Yeah, yeah, and
Every
also
main card of a pay-per-view should be stacked.
I think they're just too
Get Corey Sandhagen on it.
yeah. Why isn't
Corey Sandhagen, Cheeto
Max
Vera, get
Holloway?
him on it.
Why isn't Max Holloway fighting?
Get Max Holloway on it. Exactly.
Yeah, like I think
Like,
there's
why
just
can't they just get these guys?
Yeah, I think it's just them being not wanting to spend a lot of money on the pay these fighters a lot. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. So I think that they're just
Pathetic,
cheap. And I think us as fans are going to have to suffer from it. You know what I mean? Like I literally have no excitement for that Brazil card whatsoever.
I could give a shit, man. I mean, Burns and Magny, like that's just a recipe for a boring fight.
Yeah, I think they were just at first. I think they were really just trying to really like connect Brazilians, put Brazilians on that card. But like that's not what you need to do. You know what I mean?
Well, you do need to do that, but like
like
at
you can
least
get
put
a
the big
few.
names on it.
Yeah, but then you could put other guys on it too. You know what I'm saying? Like also, why isn't Vicente Luque fighting? Like why isn't Vicente Luque could be on that card?
Exactly, man, because
That makes sense. He's Brazilian.
they're fucking around.
Yeah, I don't know. And it doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we kind of get a like a miracle fight on it to like almost not save it. Like I mean, it's you can't
Bro,
save it.
yeah, it's
Like,
crazy.
to kind of at least just make it a little bit, I guess, watchable. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like when UFC 279 had nothing, and then they put Tony Ferguson on it against
Yeah.
the Tony Ferguson fight on it
The,
against the Leech, and then like the Holland Rodriguez. So I'm hoping they do that, but until
what
if
the UFC should have done is they should have done this. The UFC, they should have done, when they should have done this. They should have done Charles Oliveira and Volkanovski. No, no, no. They should have done Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje in Brazil. Then instead of doing Volkanovski and Islam in Perth, they should just do Volkanovski and Max 3 in Perth. Like in my opinion, whenever you go to a big country where you have a champion from that country, like Australia, a UK, a Brazil, you need to get the most dominant champion from that country and you need to put them up against a guy that they're probably going to beat. Those make for the best moments. And the UFC always puts these guys in places where they'll lose. Like Volk is going to lose in Perth. I
Mhm.
mean, if it was Russia, it'd be one thing, but I'd like to see Volk at 145 in Perth. You know,
It's
put it,
Rodriguez, like
yeah, against Rodriguez. Because he's going to lose. I would have liked to see Charles and Gagey in Brazil. I mean, who gives a fuck if Gagey's in his hometown? Why is it in Arizona? Put that shit in Brazil. You have a guy that just defended the belt, who's a big star. Put him in Brazil. It's just crazy, man. Like all these moments could have been so much better if these guys got it in their home countries. And they never do it. Whenever a big champion gets to their home country, they always go up against the Islam or the guy that's going to beat them. And Figueiredo is probably going to lose to Moreno too.
yeah. I also
But
don't
even
get
if he
why
wins, it's 125. Like who cares that much?
they fought 4 times. Like nobody cares. Like but
It'll be a good fight though. I'm actually looking forward to that sort of.
I'm
It'll
not.
be decent.
I wouldn't say. I mean, I just don't get why they don't put Yair versus like Emin on that. Like why does that have to be in the Perth card? You know what I'm saying? Like why do they have to make that even more stacked and if
Yair and Emmett should just be on the Brazil card without a title.
it should be the featured fight? You know what I'm saying? Why isn't it the featured fight? Like I just don't get it. Um, yeah, I don't
Put
know.
Fiziev Gagey on the Brazil card. Like
Yeah,
who gives a shit if
doesn't matter.
Gagey's from the US? Fly him out to Brazil.
Yeah, it'll help the card and spread it out a bit more. Like I just think they're
Like
really
if I'm a UFC matchmaker, I'm calling Fiziev, I'm calling Gagey, I'm saying Gagey will throw you an extra 100K. You want to fly to Brazil? If he turns that fight down, you call up Corey Sandhagen and Cheeto Vera. If they turn that fight down, you call up Vicente Luque, you just call some guys, make it happen.
yeah.
Call some big names. Call Glover Teixeira, call Nikita Krylov, see if they want to fight.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't get it.
Alexander Rakic, Glover, you guys down? Come on.
I bet if
Make
they
it happen. The UFC. You guys are you need some young guns like us to make these fights.
yeah, I
I
think
guarantee you, if we were really in charge of making these fights, the UFC would be better than ever.
exactly. Yeah, I think like it just ends up being that they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
So stupid. But like if I guarantee you, if you offered like half these guys, like if you offered like Fazeev and you offered Gaethje, you offer them a decent amount of money. What do you think of fighting in Brazil? Will give you this kind of money. They can make it happen.
Honestly, I'm gonna be real. Like, I kind of don't even like that the UFC goes to the Apex.
Yeah,
Like, it just feels like such a joke. Get out of the Apex. Stop fighting at the Apex. We just don't want to see it. I'd rather the UFC have two good cards a month than two shit cards, a decent card, and a good card, or two decent cards and two shit cards. I'm tired of seeing the shitty fight nights with a decent main event. Like, enough is enough. Get
Yeah.
out of the Apex. Your excuse is over. The pandemic isn't here. Before that, you were going to different places, different cities. Like, unless they were losing money that way, they must be making more money at the Apex. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're also just being cheap, which
Being
is
cheap.
because it's a billion-dollar business, you know what I'm saying? Like you can easily make it happen,
Like, this is the UFC. You guys are supposed to be going to stadiums around the country. It's like NBA games. You only get like 4 UFC events a month. Like, what? You can't sell out a stadium for one fucking night? It's like there are basketball teams, baseball teams that have games in stadiums every goddamn day.
Bellator does.
Bellator every goddamn time.
Yeah, I don't get it, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think that Brazil card, it's just a shame because like it just feels like how many cards have there been like in the last like year
Dude, we
that
need this whole segment to be Brazil card is trash. Like,
Brazil card is
it needs to be
and it's great to the
The
UFC.
Brazil card is trash and the UFC hates Brazil. Something like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah,
Jesus,
no, I
man.
mean, I just think the it's like it feels like it's UFC 279 all over again. It feels like it's UFC 282 all over again. Like it's just these cards that are just like
282 is good though, bro. I
but
gotta
like I'm okay, it's fine. 279. It feels like it's 279 all over again. And it's just like it's clear that they failed to really, I guess, make something out of it. So they're saying,
Yeah.
fuck, we don't really give a shit anymore, which is just a big fuck you to the fans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they just spend if you spend like a little bit more money on each fighter for them to fight, like you get those fights done easily. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
It's hard to believe that like if you don't be like to Max Holloway, like, would you fight whoever in Brazil for this kind of money? Like, which would be more money?
Dude, if I'm the UFC, I'm selling out the biggest arena they have in Hawaii. I'm doing an event there with Max Holloway. Like, I mean, like, come on, man. The UFC needs to get creative.
Yeah, I just
They're
think
cheap.
way too
They're
cheap.
frugal.
These Apex events are just big fuck yous to the fans. You know what I
If you
mean?
really want to grow the sport, you have to be willing to spend the big bucks, and the UFC is not doing that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just
I
can't
just think, yeah.
I can't imagine like I just like $1 million business. Like how is a like $1 billion business? How are they like not paying for like these better fights on like you know what I mean? Like for like UFC 270, UFC 279 should have never looked how it looked. UFC
Dude, I
Brazil
feel like the promotion for UFC was better in like
18.
2016, 2015 era. Like, I feel like it was even better back then.
I think any other year even like
I think
20.
they've gotten too comfortable. Like, they've stagnated and they've even gotten even more lazy.
Yeah, I think they're too comfortable. I think that they're like, oh, people are gonna buy it anyway, you know what I'm saying? So why not? And we'll just stack up the next card, you know what I'm saying? We'll make them
Yeah,
money
well, they don't have a McGregor anymore. Like, it's just
do
bullshit,
that.
man.
You know what I'm saying? You just can't do that. And I just think it's a big fuck you to the fans, you know what I mean? Like you these cards like 279 and 283 283 are just disgraces. Like they're just a disgrace to like us, you know what I'm saying? The like your fans. Like I just think it's like it's really messed up. So and I hope that I don't know what to hope for, you know what I'm saying? I like there's nothing to hope for that Brazil card. Like I think it's done, you know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna suck no matter what. Like I don't think there's anything the UFC can do now to fix it. So I think it's a shame. I think they should have been way more prepared. They haven't gone to
Yeah.
Brazil in a while. Like you're gonna really you're gonna fuck this up, you know what I'm saying? When was the last time they went to Brazil? Like it's been a couple years.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
been since 2020. That was the first pandemic event.
yeah,
Oliveira and Kevin Lee.
like it's just I feel like it's just like to the Brazilian fans too. You know what I'm saying? That's a big fuck you to them. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
so many Brazilian fighters and such a shitty card.
Yeah, like they're what if they look for, what if like it's someone like who's never been to a UFC fight their whole life. They're like, oh, the UFC's coming to Brazil. Like they get super excited, and then they see this kind of card, this trash card. They're like, fuck, like I don't want to spend the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But
It's
if
just
it was Oliveira and Glover Teixeira, if it was Glover Yuri instead of Singapore, Glover Yuri in Brazil, Oliveira Gagey in Brazil, Figueiredo Moreno in Brazil. Like that would be fine. And
Or even,
Burns
it's not even just
Burns
that. Like,
Hamzat, bro. Then like, come on,
it's
like
not even just that. It's just that like you got it. Like, look, if you can't get these like Brazilian fighters, you just put other guys on it. You know
put
what I'm
other
saying?
big names.
Yeah, like there's just no reason for Rodriguez to Emmett to be on the Australian card. Like it's not like
Well,
it's
the Vulcan they want him on there because Volkanovski's fighting on there.
okay, and Volkanovski's fighting at 155. It's not like
But he's still the 45 champ, and I think the UFC expects him to lose, so they'll be like, "All right, Volk, your next fight is this one."
but like I don't like then you're screwing the card before over. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I just doesn't make sense. Why don't you put why didn't they put Shavkat versus Joff Neal on that?
Because
Why
they're
didn't they put
reserving them for the Apex.
why didn't they put Anthony Smith versus
They're reserving Anthony Smith for the Apex.
like
Anytime I see main event, I know it. Fight night main event, I know it's the Apex, bro. I'm tired of the Apex. I fucking hate the Apex.
yeah. No,
I
but
don't get excited for Apex at all, for the Apex fights at all
oh yeah,
anymore.
I just think it's a shame. I mean, it's really a shame like that these pay-per-views, some pay-per-views are worse than fight nights. That's what
Yeah.
that would suck. That never would happen in 2018. That would never happen in 2017. Never have would definitely not happen in 2016, you know? So I think it's a shame. I think it's a big fuck you to the fans and it's really unfortunate, you know. I mean, and I think the UFC needs to get out of their the comfort zone and start visiting more cities, states, countries.
Countries, man. They used to have fight nights in like Poland and Sweden and like every goddamn
Imagine a
country.
Jan Blachowicz like fight in Poland. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know, man. It's
Fight like
crazy.
yeah, I don't get it. Why don't they go to Russia? I mean, like
Yeah.
anyone
But
else, like you know, like so. I don't know. It's a shame.
so here we have a couple other good topics. We're gonna go over the top 5 strikers and the top 5 wrestlers and grapplers in the UFC.
We're way out long overdue on this, you know. So I think a lot has changed in the last couple months in terms of grappling and
So
striking. People really showing themselves like how good they are. But yeah, no, I wanted to. You want to start with the strikers?
so when we say the best grapplers, are we talking about the most dangerous? Or are we talking about the guys that could win 100 like every time? Like, can they use their grappling to win easily, or are we talking about? I think we'll do grapplers today. I think we should do a submission, guys, another time. But I
Okay,
think grapplers to me, when I think best grappler, I think which guys could win like this every time they get the fight to the ground.
so yeah, okay. So when and those, if we're talking just grapplers and who could win when you get to the ground, I think about Khamzat Chimaev. I think about Islam Makhachev.
Give me your top 5.
Think about I guess Charles Oliveira still even. Who else? Glover?
I think he'd be
What
out of my top 5, but he's definitely up there. I definitely agree with your first 3: Oliveira, Chimaev, and Islam. You know who I might have in there? I might have Colby in there
you think?
because Colby gets the fight to the ground and like he's got the
Oh,
round pretty much.
Shavkat. Shop. I mean, he's not.
Shavkat hasn't proven it against the best guys. I'm
Neither is
only looking
Colby.
at guys that have proven it. You could
What
say the
about
same thing about Chimaev, but he's a different story. He's he's a fucking beast, dude.
what
He's a
about?
different animal.
Oh, what about Aljo? We forgot about Aljo.
Aljamain, yeah, Aljamain's up there too.
Aljo for sure. Aljo's top 5 for sure. I think he's in front of Oliveira right now, in my opinion. Aljo. Who else? I mean, if Cejudo comes back, he's
Nah,
fine.
nah. Cejudo doesn't take guys down like that.
Yeah,
I don't believe. I think he's a good wrestler, not a great grappler.
so who do you think's number 5?
Honestly, I'd say if I had to choose like the absolute best guys, I would say I would put Chimaev, Oliveira, Aljo. I would go Islam, and if I had to choose another guy,
Glover? I feel like maybe Glover, honestly.
I know. I mean, I honestly might go with Glover because when he gets on top of guys, he's so good. But to be honest, I kind of don't mind Colby Covington.
Colby Cove. What about Usman? What do
He's up there. He's I think he's top 10. I think he's top 10. I think Usman and Covington are not are top 10, but Um, yeah, I mean,
Who think's number one
Gamrot's
though?
pretty good, but Beneil's pretty good. But I don't think I'd have them anywhere near my top five. So I would say I'm trying to think of like another guy. Maybe I'm missing someone, but Habib would have been in there.
Khabib would be number one for sure, or
Yeah,
number
I
two.
mean, I
Alex
honestly think
Colby,
that Glover, you could put him in there. I mean, unless you're Yuri, he's killing everyone on the ground.
definitely. And I mean, even with Yuri, he was taking Yuri down and stuff with ease. But I
Yeah,
think number one is definitely Chimaev. I think two is Islam. I think three is Aljo. I think four is Oliveira, and I think five would be Glover probably. Yeah, I would probably say Glover. I think Glover's fair. I mean,
yeah.
like maybe like Usman, but like Usman doesn't like
But the thing is, Usman
doesn't
could win
position.
on the ground. Like if he just takes you down, unless you're Colby, you're not getting up.
Yeah, but he's not submitting you anything. Like Glover, I
That's the
think.
thing. But like, that's why I'm distinguishing between because um Brian Ortega is more dangerous than Usman on the ground, but I think Usman's a better grappler.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he has more ways to win on the ground, I guess, right?
Like Whitaker, I don't consider him to be a great grappler. I
No,
consider him to be a good wrestler, not a great grappler. Because once he gets you down, you can get
not
right
like
back up.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think number five is the tricky one. I mean, I don't mind having Glover there for now, but yeah, I don't know who else. Like maybe
Bryce Mitchell's pretty damn good.
Ilya Tupiria also.
I
Uh,
think Bryce Mitchell's he's a beast, man, on the ground.
he's got yeah, he is, but I don't know.
He's not proven. I think it's got to be I think Glover is more proven. I mean, he's done it to the better guys.
he took Jan down. I know that was a little bit
He
weird.
he he submitted Thiago Santos. He destroyed Anthony Smith. Like Anthony Smith's decent on the ground. Like
Mhm.
I
What
think
about
Glover's
Magomed Ankalaev? I think he's underrated on the ground, but
he
I
just
don't think
hasn't
he's
proven it
yeah, he
against
doesn't.
the top guys.
I don't get why he doesn't use his grappling a bit more. You know what I'm saying? He's a Samba champion. I don't know. I think he won it a few times or something. But he's like a real high level grappler. He just never like. I mean, he doesn't really use it enough, in my opinion. I think
Mhm.
going back to the Jan Blachowicz fight, like that's coming up. I think he should use some more grappling. But
Yeah,
I know he's definitely not proven enough. So I don't mind having Glover at number five, but I think Chimaev for sure is number one. I think Islam is number two. I think Aljo is three. I think Charles is four, and I think Glover is five. That's
yeah. The thing
that's
about like it's weird because none of these guys on their back would be anything crazy. Like I'm starting to really think that one day we have to look at the best guys on their back. But all
these
of
guys
these
never go
guys,
on their
if
back. You
if
know what I'm
any of
saying?
these guys get on top of you, they're winning the round. Like Charles gets on top of you, he wins the round. Aljo gets on top of you or gets your back, he wins the round. Islam, Chimaev, and Glover. So, and I think I would put Covington and Usman right outside of there as well because those guys, if they can take you down and get on top of you, unless you're another world class wrestler, like you're gonna lose the round.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what Usman did to Leon. We saw what Masvidal did to no Colby did to Masvidal, even though he's not a great grappler.
Colby just does that to everyone unless it's Kamaru. So let's look at the top five
Yeah,
strikers though.
for sure. Yeah, I think this is weird. I think this has definitely changed a lot in the last few months. But I think number one, I think this is a tricky one. I think this is actually a really tricky one. I know you probably want to put Volk.
You know what I'd have?
I'll
I'd
put
have this.
Pereira.
I'm gonna give my top five right now, and I'm gonna go in order.
Yeah,
I would say Volkanovski. I would say I'm gonna say Volkanovski. I'm gonna say Piotr Jan. I'm
really.
gonna say yeah. No. I'm gonna say Volk, Alex Pereira. Then I'm gonna say uh fuck. It's kind of hard to put a heavyweight.
What Asanya?
Nah. I put Piotr Jan and I'm gonna put O'Malley before Adesanya.
So you have O'Malley behind Peter Yan,
Yeah,
but O'Malley was out striking him. So Peter
true,
Yan.
but I think Piotr Jan in a 5 rounder finishes O'Malley on the feet. I really do because you look at Piotr Jan on the feet in the fourth and fifth, but he's just different. So here's what I think. I'm gonna say top five. Number one, Volk. Number two would be um Pereira. I think he's a glory champion 2 times, beat Adesanya, the only guy to really beat his ass on the feet and finish him on the feet in the UFC. Um, then I'm gonna say O'Malley, Jan, and Gon. Adesanya is number 6. I don't even have Adesanya in my top 5 guys. I think Adesanya is just a tad bit overrated. I've been saying this for the longest time. He got outstruck by Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz is a great striker. He's an underrated striker, but he got outstruck by Jan, and Jan isn't anything crazy. Now Adesanya at 185 is better at 205, but
But he's got the
still,
reach,
you put him up there against another guy who's tall, who can strike, he may lose those 50% of the time. So, and he was losing, he lost against Pereira, lose against him again. Adesanya is definitely number 6 on that list, but I would have to say Piotr Jan and O'Malley are right there with him. And those guys are smaller. They're probably even more skilled and more fast. Cyril Gane's just in my top 5 because he's, for a heavyweight, he is so impressive. So I have to put him up there because he defies the odds for heavyweight. So I have to put him up there as well. Yeah, and Whitaker would be, right outside of those guys. He'd be right behind a guy like Adesanya. Yeah, I think Whitaker's the best guy who's not out of those 6, but that's my top 5. I'd say Volk number 1.
Yeah, for me, I got
Holloway and Poirier would be in my top 10 too.
Yeah, for me, I got what's his name I got Pereira number 1. I got Cyril Gane number 2.
Damn, okay.
Gane number 2. I'm gonna put Poirier number 3. I feel like we're kind of sleeping on Poirier. I'm gonna put O'Malley number 4.
Okay.
A real weird list.
No Volk.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put Volk number 5. Oh wait, I forgot about Volk. Okay, all right. I completely forgot.
Volk just
let me do that again.
Max, dude. He's got to be in there.
Forgot about Volk. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put number 1 Pereira, number 2 Cyril Gane, number 3 Volk, number 4 Poirier, number 5 O'Malley.
I like that. So where would Piotr Jan be? Would he be top 10?
He'd be right outside of that. Like he'll be.
I think Piotr Jan. I don't have a problem with O'Malley being ahead of him. I don't, but I'd like to see that go 5 rounds. And listen, if that did go 5 rounds, Piotr Jan TKOs him, those guys have to switch.
Yeah.
So, because it was the wrestling that gave Piotr Jan the slight edge, I have to say that, in that fight. So it wasn't really just the striking that I thought won it for Jan. I would have to say the guys that are right outside the top 5 for me is, I think Jan and Adesanya, those guys are interchangeable. I really like O'Malley in there. I think he really proved himself to be really good. But still, man, I'm not convinced that he's that much better than Jan. So I'm going to have to say my top 3, Pereira, Volk, Cyril Gane. Then outside of that, it'd be Jan, Adesanya, O'Malley. Outside of that, it'd be Whitaker, Max, and Poirier. I'd put Poirier and Max together.
List. Okay.
Poirier is in my top 9.
Okay.
But I think him and Max are right there. And I think Whitaker, is right there. And number 10 could be a Fiziev maybe. But here's the issue with Fiziev. Here's the issue. Who has he actually beat? Like all these guys that we've just named have good resumes. Fiziev hasn't really beat anyone that's a good striker. Think about it like this. He's beat Bobby Green, but Bobby Green beat his ass in the 3rd round, like kicked his ass. So I'm not ready to say Fiziev. If Fiziev schooled Bobby Green for all 3 rounds, I'd put him higher. But even he didn't do that. Like just Fiziev, and he just beat RDA, who's a little older, who's not the best striker. He took him 5 rounds. Like I want to see Fiziev beat a guy like Poirier before I throw him in there.
Yeah, I think I mean in terms of like what we've heard about him and all that, I mean, like apparently at Tiger Muay Thai, like he's teaching the striking lessons. Like he's like, he's teaching Peter Yan, he's teaching Israel Adesanya, he's teaching Kai Kara France. Like he's teaching all these guys how to strike. So I think it'll be interesting to see like him in his next fight, like against like a guy like a Gaethje or something. I
I
think he
want to see him in another stand-up battle.
schools a Poirier or a Gaethje. Like,
I think Gagey is so overrated. I think he schools Gagey.
I
I'm
think
not going to be convinced even if he beats Gagey.
you're not gonna be convinced if he beats Gaethje, like schools him.
If he beats him in the first round, maybe. But
I don't know
if
if
it
the first round would really show that. I feel like it'd be like a
for
second
sure.
round. You know what
But
I'm saying?
still,
Like,
man, like Charles Oliveira outclassed Gagey and looked like a master on the feet against Gagey. And Charles is good, but he's not top 10.
no, definitely not. No, but I think Fazeev has that ability. I just think he hasn't proven it yet. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think I think he could school a Poirier striking wise, which is
Really? That's a big
I
statement.
think he does. You know what I'm saying? And I like Poirier. I'm a huge Poirier
So
fan.
you think
I think
Fiziev, if you think he schools Poirier, then he's in your top
I do
five.
but I'm not ready to like
Yeah,
I
yeah, I see what you're
you know what I'm
saying.
saying? Like I think if he needs that
To be
one,
honest, man, I think Poirier beats Fiziev.
you do.
I think he
Oh,
does.
well, I don't know. I
I
mean,
think Poirier would gas him out on the feet.
that's the factor. But I that is a really good fight. That
That's a good fight. I
Poirier's
want to
got
see
a
that
great
more than the
chin.
Gagey one, but I'd like to see the Gagey one too. Oh, here's a good question. What about Brandon Moreno?
His striking.
Because the thing is, like, I know it's 125, but like
Kai
those
Car
flyweights are so fast. You know what I mean? They're so skilled. Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo too. Those guys are great strikers.
they are, but I
Maybe
just
we're
feel
not
like
giving them the credit just because they are 125ers.
maybe, but I don't know. I feel like they don't really like they're not that like flashy or anything. You know what I'm saying? Like
I
compared
know,
to
but they're so fast. You know
that is,
what's his name is not that Pereira's not that flashy.
I mean,
He
when he's
throws
knocking
leg he
people
throws
out,
leg kicks, some body kicks, and left hooks.
I mean, when he's knocking people out, that's a bit flashy. And also,
I mean, yeah, Brandon Moreno's knocked out what's his Kai Car France
yeah,
with a
he's a
beautiful
really good
body kick.
striker. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just it's hard to put him in front of guys like Sean O'Malley, Peter
Yeah, for
Young.
sure.
Those guys, in my opinion, are like top notch. But I think Faziev, whatever you say his name, I think he's gonna be like I think he's gonna be there real soon. The UFC seems to want to book him against Charles, which is a fucking horrible match for Charles. I have to say, I think that's gonna be.
Terrible matchup.
We've been talking about for a while, like one of these times Charles is gonna get knocked out, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
if we book him against Faziev, I think that's gonna be the time where he gets knocked out. You know, he's way too hittable. We thought he took the shot and fell on purpose almost, but the Islam fight showed that that's not the case. That his chin is just iffy, you know, and it just gave him more time to recover by people not jumping on him. So I think Fazeev is no joke in the striking department, obviously, and Charles not moving his head around, keeping his head stationary, I think would really hurt against a guy like Fazeev. I think what is Charles going to do to him realistically? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. He has to take his back. Like
Not
other than that,
Fazeev is great like he's great takedown defense. You know what I'm saying? Like you saw how hard it was for RDA, who's probably a better wrestler than Charles. Like not like I know Charles is better when it comes to the ground, but RDA is better at getting people down, I would say.
he
So
just has to take his back. Like if he doesn't do that, he loses.
I just don't see that happening. I don't see him getting to his back. You know, I mean, I think Fazeev is smart enough. He's aware enough to not let that happen. You know what I'm saying? And or even not even let Charles like take him down. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's gonna get rocked by Charles. Like I think he'd smoke Charles. I think he'd probably finish him in the first round. Honestly,
I think Fiziev finishes him too.
I think first round. I think it's brutal, and I think that's what the UFC want to do because I don't think they want to see. They seem to not want these former champions fighting for the belt who aren't like the Usmans or
But the thing is, Charles is that like
they
he's
don't
a
I don't think they
star,
like
man. They
it
don't
though.
see it, dude.
They don't see it. That's what like you don't put Charles against you put Charles against Benil. That's what if
Yeah,
you
you
want
put Charles against the guy who's not too dangerous on the feet.
but I think what the UFC the thing about that is I think that the UFC realizes that Islam versus Charles was not close. And I think they're like, okay, like
But
because
it's still more interesting than a lot of other matchups.
it is, but at the same time, like they saw it already and they saw it wasn't close. So I think that's just not that appealing to them. So I think they'll be
Here's
like,
here's one thing. I still think Charles has a chance to beat Islam.
oh, I do also, but I think he fought an awful fight.
If
But
he gets on top of Islam, it could be over.
for sure. I think that there's more ways that he could beat Islam. I think if he's a bit more aggressive, I think he's got a real chance against Islam. But I just think that from the UFC standpoint, like they like these former champions who lose. in ways that were brutal. They don't like them getting another title shots. Like you look at Tyron Woodley against Usman. You look at Rockhold against Bisping. You look at Weidman against Rockhold. Like what else? What are other examples? You just see these fights where like the guys get schooled and they just like they make it as difficult as possible for them to get back to the belt. And I think that's what they're gonna
Yeah.
do there, which is unfortunate because he's so entertaining and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's just what they're gonna do. So they're putting him against the toughest possible matchup, Fiziev, and I think that they're gonna and he's gonna beat Fiziev's gonna beat him. And I think he's gonna fight for the belt at some point next year, which is gonna be that's an interesting fight, Islam versus Fiziev. I think Islam. I think Islam wins eventually, but I think that's interesting at least in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Vikings. I think he'll get Islam's gonna get hit in that fight. You know what I'm saying? And he may struggle to get Fiziev down in the beginning, but I think being a 5 rounder and stuff, I think eventually Islam will probably take over. But I think that's an interesting fight in my opinion. So I definitely want to see that. But I just feel bad for Charles though. You know what I mean? Like put him against Beneil, like that fight. That's a way more winnable fight for him. And I mean, I don't want to see Poirier get another title shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you put Benny against Poirier, you're kind of like assuring that the winner will fight for the belt. And I just don't like that, like, I don't, I would so much rather see Charles fight for the belt again than Poirier fight for the belt again. I'm
Same.
just in the same boat. And I don't get what the UFC are doing. Poirier is the greatest number one contender ever. Let's just say that. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll never be a champion. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just
Yeah, he'll
doesn't
never be an undisputed champ.
he'll
Never.
never, like I mean, I know he won
He's got three. He had three chances. He won. Of course, he won the interim, but like he lost to Beeb. He lost to Charles. Like enough is enough. No more Poirier. No more Gagey. I never want to see those guys
oh,
get another chance unless they go on a 10 fight win streak. I don't want to see it.
yeah, unless they literally beat everybody else. I don't want to see it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like what look, they made it impossible for Max Holloway to get a fight for the belt. Why are they making it easy for Poirier? You know what I'm saying? Poirier is literally on a 1 fight win streak. And he's has a chance of fighting for the number one contender spot. Like I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. And he's fought 3 times. You know what I'm saying? Whitaker had to go through after the first Adesanya fight. He had to go through how many opponents he had to go? He had to go through
Three.
3 opponents for getting another chance. You're telling me Poirier is gonna have to go through 2? Like
Crazy.
it just doesn't make sense for me. Um, Justin Gaethje too is another guy I would definitely not want to see fight for the belt. I think you give him the hardest possible fight. I think you try to give Fiziev to Gaethje. You know what I'm saying? Like you make it impossible for him to fight for the belt again. Or what about Gaethje versus Charles too? Would you want to see that fight?
Nah.
No.
Dude, I'm tired of these guys rematching. Like, no more rematches for Gagey. No more rematches for Poirier. I want them to all get fresh matchups. That's
So
it.
like you because I saw that Michael Gamrot I think was calling for Chandler. Is that a matchup you'd want to see?
Yeah,
Chandler.
dude, no more rematches. All those guys, give them fresh matchups.
Also, what's his name is fighting soon. I almost forgot about Sarukian.
And
He's
Garam
fighting.
Sarukian
Sarukian.
and fuck, I forget his name, but another guy who's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's
And then you
fighting.
have Garam Kutaledze versus the guy who we were clowning on that Islam beat, Thiago Moises.
Thiago Moises. So look, you
See,
put
like if these guys, like the winners of those should fight like the new, like enough fucking rematches.
enough giving these old guys like these like favorable matchups, or these like big fights. Like, you know what I mean? Enough giving, don't give
There's
Chandler.
nothing wrong with a big fight. Like just no more rematches, dude. Enough of
I
that
mean,
shit.
I think there is something wrong with these big fights because you're giving Chandler these like a Ferguson fight when you could be giving like a guy like Gamrot a Ferguson fight and it can make a name out of that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like these
But I
young
think now they know Chandler's never going to be champ, and Chandler needs to fight. He needs,
Gamrot. These
yeah.
fight
So some one of these guys, one of these guys.
Suruki. That's what I didn't understand. Like also Poirier giving him a Chandler. That's such a favorable that was such a favorable matchup for him the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't give these guys like these treats anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like you just can't. We got to move on from this generation. We need to go into the new generation, Sarukians, the Vazivs, the Islams. You know what I mean? Like the Bennies, like these guys who've not fought for the belt yet. You know what I'm saying? Gamrot even. Like I don't think Gamrot's done yet. I know he just lost to Benny, but I think he could still be top 3 to 5 in that division for sure. You know what I'm saying? So you put Gamrot against a Chandler in a 5 round fight. You put Gamrot. This is what the UFC should do. They put Gamrot Chandler as a fight night and main event, and you got it, a 5 rounder. And I think that's a real winnable fight for Gamrot. Or you put Gamrot against or Sarukian against Chandler. You put Sarukian against Poirier. You know, like one of these guys. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't mind seeing Sarukian versus Islam too. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That was a close fight the first time. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
I just don't want to see these old guys fighting for the belt again. You know, and yeah, I don't know. What do you who do you think? Yeah, I mean, who do you want to see Gaethje fight next? Like, what do you think actually makes? Because that's a guy. Like, I feel like,
Fiziev. I'd like to see him fight Fiziev. I'd like to see him fight Gamrot. I'd like to see him fight anyone that's new.
yeah, I mean, I think Chandler is the guy who really that loss. I think really hurt him. I don't think they're giving him. I don't think he's getting the Conor fight. I don't think they're giving him any more treats. Truly, like I think it's done. I think I want to see Conor versus Gaethje, but I mean, I think that's in two. Like, I don't think Gaethje's gonna wait around for that. You know. Um. Yeah, I don't know. I think the lightweight division will be interesting to see kind of where it goes. I'm just hoping that these young guys get these chances because that's the next wave. You know what I mean? Like enough with these Poiriers, enough with these Gaethjes, enough with like I mean even Charles. Like I mean like I think like these guys had their chances and I think it's up. You know what I mean? So I want to see the Gamrots, the Sarukians, the Fizieves like Islam. You know, obviously Benil. Those are the guys who should be fighting. You know. So you give these guys the easiest matchups, big names, and then most winnable fights, and then you have them fight for the belts, you know. So that's what I want to see for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, anything else before we go?
I think that's it. We covered a lot. I'm looking forward to these fights next weekend.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to the Orlando card. Should be absolute banger. I'm excited for the Tuivasa Sergey Pavlovich fight. I think that's going to be real interesting to see, and I think Holland versus Wonder Boy will obviously be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that. Heck, I'm even looking forward to. I mean, 2 weeks we got UFC 282, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's coming up. So I'm excited about that. So next week we'll be recapping the Orlando card, and then we'll be giving our UFC 282 official predictions. So right now, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button too. You know, you don't want to miss out on these episodes we post. So yeah, very much appreciated. Great podcast, and until next time.